Previously on Chapterskip.
Just remember, you're next.
A gun!
Ade due dembala. Give me the power, I beg of you. Lave Monsieur de Beaujolais. I want to ruin them in the worst possible way.
Hello and welcome to Chapterskip. I'm Joe.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Shaun, and we're bringing you movie reviews with a twist.
And today we're reviewing Curse of Chucky. Well, it looks like we got a few things wrong on our trailer review for this movie. I had a theory on what the story would be about, only to get it completely wrong.
And I said the film would ignore both Bride and Seed of Chucky and be set after Child's Play 3. Well, it turns out it's actually a sequel to Seed of Chucky, so sorry, my bad.
This film was written and directed by Mancini, who has written every Chucky film since the first Child's Play.
And he also wrote and directed Seed of Chucky. And with all the other movies, David Kirshner is in the producing role.
Now, even though this is a sequel, you don't need an intimate knowledge of the previous 5 films to enjoy this, so don't worry if this is your first dip into Chucky's twisted little mind. Although, if you are familiar with the series, then there's quite a few references here to past events from the other films that you're sure to get a kick out of them when you spot them.
The plot centres on wheelchair-bound Nica, who is played by Fiona Dourif,
who is the daughter of Brad Dourif, the man that has provided the voice of Chucky ever since the very first movie. He also plays the real-life version of Charles Lee Ray in the films as well.
This film is set 4 years after the Seed of Chucky, and yeah, it takes that much time to get over that monstrosity.
A mysterious package is delivered in the mail to Nica and her mother Sarah, but as there's no children in the house and no reason to have a freaky, ugly ginger doll in the house, Sarah pops Chucky in the bin and gets on with doing some painting.
Now, if we've learned anything from the previous 5 Chucky films, we know that old Charlie boy doesn't like to be thrown in the rubbish, so he exacts revenge on Sarah during the night, and not just because he was thrown away, he has other motives too.
Nica's sister then arrives for the funeral, bringing her family with her, including her young daughter Alice, who's played by Summer Howell. Alice takes a liking to the strange gingery doll, and the family carry on with all their bickering and infidelity, blissfully unaware of the danger in their midst.
and after dinner the family settle into a good old home video viewing.
But no one's really watching the video, so they all go on a doll hunt for the now missing Chucky. At this point, there's only one thing that can throw this search party a curveball, and that's a thunderstorm that knocks out the power, along with the phone signal, the internet and Nica's wheelchair lift.
As Chucky fans will know, as soon as there's a thunderstorm and a family in a house with no means to contact the police, there's going to be a few people getting killed. And that is indeed what happens. One by one, Chucky, shockingly, takes out the family in inventive ways that I didn't see coming, and the audience will be left jaw-dropped. Also, there's one thing about Chucky being a doll, is that he never has to clear up any dead bodies. He has all the fun and none of the hard work.
Hey guys, what happened to that masked man from last week?
Yeah, weren't you meant to get rid of him, Mark?
No, I thought you were doing it, Shaun.
Well, so he's still laying there?
Judging from the smell, I'd say yes.
Well, who's going to get rid of him then?
Bagsy, not me!
Bagsy, not me!
Bagsy, not me!
What the H-E double hockey sticks was that noise?
But that sounded like a girl screaming.
Sounded like the noise that squirrel made when my uncle fingered it. He went to prison for that, you know.
Ooh. Oh. I think we should call for help, Mark.
We can't, the phones aren't working.
Hang on a minute, this is starting to sound like a horror film.
No, we just didn't pay the bill last month.
Okay. I'll go get some bandages.
Right, mate. He is not going to be happy.
Now, with all the mistakes corrected and all the informative details out of the way, let's tell you what we did and didn't like about the movie.
First of all, this movie more than made up for the previous film, Seed of Chucky, which I thought was just horrid. However, as a standalone film, this one was neither here nor there. It had some good moments, a few decent jump scares, and for the most part, the film made sense in the grand scheme of things.
And I felt it had a good mix of comedy and horror.
Yeah, with the majority of any humour generally coming from Chucky's lines as he dispatches his victims. There are some nice moments of tension in the movie, and there's some very clever plot elements going on that, whilst they're not mind-blowing, they're still interesting enough to keep the film from being overly predictable.
I like that it felt more like the first 3 Child's Play films, with some of the absurd comedy and ridiculousness taken away, and some of the good old-fashioned slasher-style goodness back in there.
Some of the death scenes are well realised as well, and not just the stabby murder ones either. There's a scene early on where the families are settling down to a nice meal together, unaware that Chucky has tampered with someone's food, and we as audience members are more or less unaware of just who's going to be on the receiving end of Chucky's particular brand of revenge. And it makes for a very interesting and, if you'll pardon the pun, well executed scene.
However, there was one thing that really stood out for me, and that was the look of Chucky.
It's quite sad to say that the Chucky of the late 80s, early 90s looked, sounded and felt more real than the Chucky of today. It just goes to show that when it comes down to animatronics and practical effects over CGI, there's a very clear winner.
When you really think about it though, you can see why Chucky's so angry all the time. He has to live as a doll, he's about 2 feet tall, and to top it all off, he's ginger.
I mean, who wants to come back to life as a ginger? What happened?
We don't know, mate. You just sort of passed out.
Luckily I managed to get hold of a surgeon and he's performed an emergency transplant on you.
Lucky enough, me and Mac are both matches, so you're going to be fine.
Thanks guys, you're really good friends.
Oh, my head.
Moment of truth. What the... What's happened to my lovely hair?
The surgeon took hair from both of us and transplanted it onto you. It's fine, mate. It's beautiful. You look like Mick Hucknall.
No way! I can't look like this! It's ginger! And curly! I don't want to look like this! I want my lovely straight black hair back!
But the doctor said it's connected to your nerve endings. If you pull it out now, you're going to die, Shaun.
But I don't care. I'm going to do it. I don't want to look like this!
Well, Shaun, just calm down. I mean, Joe donated some of his beard hair for you, and I donated hair as well.
You don't even have any hair, Mark.
Came from the pubes. Yeah. Look at that. Look, bald as anything down there now. Ginger. I really enjoyed this movie, and it was nice to see Chucky back to the darker horror roots of the original films, while still giving a nod to all the movies in the series so far. Hopefully, this film will do well, and we'll get to spend time in Chucky's company once more at some point in the future. Although I would like to see him face off against the now grown-up Andy Barclay for a final climactic showdown, as I think that would be a perfect end to a great franchise. Although on that note, keep an eye on all the little scenes that pop up after the credits when the movie's finished.
Now for me, I like that this went back to its roots and it showed you more horror than comedy. The CGI wasn't great, but I felt that it had a good plot and the story fitted well in the Chucky universe. So, go watch this.
This movie wasn't the perfect movie by a long stretch, but I didn't really hate it. It was a vast improvement from the previous 2 films, Bride and Seed, although one of the major problems I had with the film would have to have been the ending. They spent a good amount of time building the tension to the final climax, and when nothing happened, it left me feeling very underwhelmed. It also felt that the ending was catered towards the hardcore Chucky fans rather than the casual viewer, because nobody without prior Chucky knowledge would have a clue what all the stuff at the ending meant. In summation, I feel that this film is a must-see for any Chucky fanboys, or girls. If that's not you, then I wouldn't bother too much about catching this flick.
Thanks for watching this Curse of Chucky film review. To keep up to date with the most unique movie reviews on the internet, all you have to do is subscribe. You can also get involved with Chapterskip by leaving a comment down below and telling us your thoughts on Curse of Chucky. Or, if you prefer, you can also post them on our Facebook and Twitter page. All the links are down in the description. Thanks.
This film was written and directed by Don Mancini, who has also done the other Chucky films from the first Chunky Chuckies.
Chunky Chuckies! Now, first of all, this movie...
Well, I said it wrong anyway.
Movie. What do cows watch?
This movie... It's this wig! It's zapping all my energy.
Ginger powers!
It's zapping all my energy!
Got gingivitis.